Hello, beautiful. How are you doing today? I hope you're having an amazing day. Welcome to the channel of the Dream Team. My name is Oscar. Today with me I have Sammy, Kevin, and Ninette. Together, we would like to share with you a message on gender inequality. When we hear about gender inequality, we often hear this quote from the former President of the United States, Mr. Barack Obama. He said,
"The typical woman who works full-time earns 79 cents for every dollar that a typical man makes."
Now that sounds a bit unfair, don't you think? Before we start, we'd like to ask you a question. Why do you think gender inequality exists in the first place? If you would like to know the answer, stay tuned. In this video, we'd love to share with you 5 things. We'll start off with what exactly is gender inequality, follow through with a timeline, and then Western versus Eastern culture, and we'll link it to the hospitality industry and then wrap it up with the future development of the feminist movement. The main goal of this video is to raise awareness and to educate public on gender inequality. There are 3 objectives. First, to critically analyze the situation of gender inequality globally. Second, contrast 2 countries on both ends to reveal the difference. Third, for us future hospitality leaders to reflect and offer solutions. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Let's get started. So what exactly is gender inequality? Now that reminds me of an interesting classic movie called The Borat. Let's take a short look.
So what that means is this feminism?
It's the theory that women should be equal to men in matters economic,
Now
social,
you are laughing.
and
Yeah.
political.
That is the problem.
Did you catch that? So when men and women are not equal in a society, that creates gender inequality, and it is defined by Tisdale, who said, "Gender inequality is a multi-dimensional in character, and its presence and nature are influenced by diverse economic, political, and social factors."
Hello everyone, this is Sammy. Did you know that it will take another 208 years for the United States alone to reach gender equality? We have seen news in recent years that indicates an awareness to this issue. If we take a look at the development of gender equality index globally, this chart shows data from 1975 up to 2018. Norway was taking a lead while Saudi Arabia is still lagging behind after half a century. For the moment, Nordic countries are most pronounced on this matter. Iceland, Norway, Finland, Sweden are leading on the gender equality movement. In society like this, men and women are almost equal economically, socially, and politically. They have the same rights to vote, receiving fair pay, and be treated equally within the society. But when and where did this start? In order to know why we stand where we are standing now, it's only fit when we take a look at the timeline of gender equality development. There are 3 major events we would like to address in this video. We've chosen them because these events each marked a breakthrough in the global progress towards gender equality. Now, come alongside with me and let's travel back in time to March 1911. The world celebrates the first International Women's Day in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. There were more than 1 million women and men attend rallies in support of women's rights to vote, hold public office, enter the labor force, and participate without discrimination. Mesdames et Messieurs, México. Now, Let's take a leap to 1975, Mexico, where the UN General Assembly and Commission on the Status of Women called on representatives from 133 member states together for the first World Conference on Women. This conference resulted in a forward-looking world plan of action to achieve the objectives for the advancement of women over the next decade, which the UN General Assembly proclaimed the United Nations Decade for Women, Equity, Development, and Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching our final destination, New York City. Finally, welcome to 2015, New York City. In this year, the UN sets the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which includes 17 distinct goals with a sharp focus on gender equality. The Sustainable Development Goals has concrete targets to end violence against women, improve women's health, promote women's participation in leadership and decision-making position, and etc. This new framework makes it clear that addressing gender inequality is critical to global progress. Just over a century after the first celebration of International Women's Day, it is clear that significant achievements have been made in elevating the rights of women and girls on the world stage. However, it is equally clear that there is still much more work to do. So, here comes to the question. We, as the future leader of the hospitality industry, what can we do to help improving the working conditions for women?
Moving on to the next part, let's talk about the cultural difference between the East and the West. For the East side, it is always male-dominated, while they have close-minded family values and traditional gender roles, which makes them as a patriarchal society. While on the other hand, the Western society have open-minded family values, while feminism is rising in them. This time, we will be taking two countries as our examples. For the West side, Norway will be our representative, while Japan will represent the East. So you may ask, why Norway? Is Norway that good? Let me explain it to you. Norway is one of the best Nordic countries in Europe. They do not have traditional gender roles. Men can do housework at home, while women can work outside. At the same time, women are more involved in the political side. One of the great examples is women chair 3 of the 9 parties in the Norway Parliament. They are Erna Solberg, the Prime Minister of Norway, Siv Jensen, the Minister of Finance, and last but not least, Ina Basholm, the spokesperson for the Green Path. So what about Japan, one of the most developed countries in the world? How does it perform? According to the 2018 World Economic Forum Gender Gap Index, Japan was ranked 110 out of 149 countries in the list, while on the other hand, Norway was ranked second out of all of them, just behind the neighboring country, Iceland. So, why such a developed country in Asia still suffers from gender inequality? Let me explain to you now. Despite the fact that we are living in the 21st century, traditional family roles still exist in Japanese families after marriage due to the strong persistence in traditional division of labor, which means that the burden of childcare and household tasks are usually done by women. Maybe Japan is one of the tech giants in the world, but in terms of gender equality, they still have room for improvement.
Hello everyone, this is Lynette. In the next 2 minutes, I would like to tell you some recent movements within the hospitality industry designed to tackle gender inequality. First, may I introduce you an organization called Diversity in Hospitality, Travel and Leisure, a management consulting company based in the UK. They are devoted to increase women's and ethnic minorities representation at all levels and in leadership positions across hospitality, travel, and leisure sector. WIHTL believes that through collaboration, we can amplify the impact of individual diversity initiatives. Together, we can have a bigger and louder voice to make a difference. So, what do? First, they conduct research that is relevant and inspiring. Secondly, they nurture collaboration and sharing across the industry, putting in place tangible action that will make a difference. And third, they support companies and executives in committing to the diversity and inclusion agenda. According to the annual report, it is found that the key progress has been made increase in female representation at each of the most senior levels, such as board, executive committee, and direct reports. There is, however, also rooms for improvement. The initial goal was to reach 33% female representation across all three leadership levels by end of 2020, but the reality is 84% of the businesses failed to do so. There are a few programs developed to help women in this industry. One called Women Returners, an industry-wide initiative aiming to rally the whole industry around the key objectives of making the sector attractive to returners. The other called Mentoring Women in Hospitality, which aims to help women progress to executive level. Because of their strong vision and capacity to act, they managed to persuade major companies to sign the Diversity in HTL Charter, and therefore it put in place a guideline for tangible measurements. Hence, companies then be committed to the collaboration project WIHTL worked on, and this charter is a 10-point action plan. That includes Intercon and Hilton. Great initiative. Oh, by the way, did you notice something interesting? Yes, they are all white men. We hope in the near future there will be more women like Sonia Chung and Kathleen Taylor who progress to executive position, creating a true diversified workplace.
Hello, this is Oscar again. Thank you for bearing with us until the end. In this video, we've addressed the issues caused by gender inequality. We travel back in time together to explore the development of gender equality movement. Then, we've looked at data comparing the culture between East and West. And then we took Japan and Norway as representatives of both ends. Followed by linkage to the hospitality industry to reveal practices put in place by organizations such as Women in Hospitality, aiming to unite related industries to create a bigger and louder voice for women. We would like to make this video constructive by providing you an overview of the future development and recommendation on this topic. So what data do we have right now to help us predict the future? According to the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report 2020, which is right this year, it is found that there's still a long way to achieve worldwide gender equality. The time it will take to close the gender gap has in fact narrowed down to 99.5 years in 2019. While it is actually an improvement of 7 years from the previous year. This number is calculated based on 4 elements: health, education, work, and politics, which is coherent to the 3 pillars we've mentioned throughout the video. If you look at gender equality in the jobs of future, perhaps the greatest challenge preventing the economic gender gap from closing in is women's underrepresentation in emerging roles. Current practice that have been put in place includes UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals and the World Economic Forum as a platform where both of them create guidelines and feasible goals so countries and companies could follow to create a better world. To get to gender parity in the next decade, instead of the next 2 centuries, we'll need to mobilize resources, focus on leadership attention, and commit to targets across the public and private sectors. Business as usual will not close the gender gap, we must take action to achieve the virtuous cycle that parity creates in economies and societies. Remember, culture doesn't make people, people make culture. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.